Are you a software engineer who frees up every time they get into an interview? When the interviewer asks you a question, you start talking but you ramble? You give an answer that feels wrong the second it leaves your mouth? If you ever blanked on an interview question, don't worry, you're not alone. Today, I'm showing you how to practice the most common software engineering interview questions one by one and get instant feedback on your answers that actually helps you improve. If you're new here, my name is Laszlo. I'm a full-stack web developer for over 15 years, and I've spent the last decade of my career on the other side of the table, interviewing engineers. I know exactly what hiring managers look for, and I know where candidates lose the opportunity before they even realize it. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a tool called FinalRound AI, especially focusing on the interview question bank feature. This is a feature where you can pick a question from a curated list of software engineering questions. You record your answer, and the AI analyzes your response and gives you feedback on structure, clarity, content, and delivery. This isn't about simulating an entire interview session. It's about thoughtful practice, working through questions one by one, refining your answers, and building a repeatable framework you can rely on under pressure. I will also break down the STAR method, the framework I use to answer 3 behavioral questions with this tool later in this video. You will see exactly how to structure your responses so you never ramble, freeze, or leave the interviewer wondering what you actually accomplished. Now let me show you how it's done. When you go to this website called FinalRoundAI.com, you can log in and you will see this dashboard. On the left, you can see the main important features of this tool, but today we are going to focus on the one in the footer. It's called the interview questions. Here, you can see the most common interview question asked in software engineering interviews. You can filter the questions by category like system design, coding, or behavioral. And then you can also filter to specific company questions or to different level. After you picked your question, let's say you want to practice this question, you can click the practice button and the tool will show you this screen. On this screen, you can read the question and then also read a little bit of explanation about the question, giving you some specific advice how to answer it. And then once you're ready, you can hit the start speaking button. It will ask for permission to record your microphone, and then you will see your answer as you speak in this text box. Once you're done, you can submit it with the same button and the AI will give you feedback on your answer. In this next section, we are going to practice behavioral interview questions. I'm going to give you an example of how to answer a question with a structured approach, and I'm going to give you a bad example of how not to answer these questions. So you can see the difference clearly, how to do it and how not to do it. So let's get started. I will first start with the bad approach, so make sure to keep in mind this is not the recommended way to answer these questions. The question goes as, can you describe a challenging project you successfully completed and how it demonstrated your problem-solving abilities? Below it, you can see a description or some advice how to answer these questions, but I already read it, so I'm not going to do it now. I will just jump straight into answering the question. So let's see. So one of the challenging projects I had earlier, it was a dental healthcare project, and I was working there as a Node.js developer. And basically, one of my team member asked me to help him in a situation where our backend service was starting every 30 minutes. So I was assigned to do this task. I figured out that there was some sort of memory issue in the Docker container, I guess. And then I realized there was a memory leak in the code because it was written in a bad way. Some of the parts of the application were written in a bad way. And then after finding the issue, I was able to solve it, and I was able to fix this issue. So that's it. This is not the best approach to answer these questions, so let's see what the AI gives us as a feedback. It says my overall performance is 5 on a scale of 10. My structure integrity is a little bit lower. My content accuracy is 5 out of 10, and my fluency of expression is also only 6 out of 10. So it says the strengths were that I identified the technical issues. I demonstrated problem-solving skill by diagnosing and fixing the issue. I mentioned the cooperative aspect of teamwork, which is great, but there are some areas for improvement, which is enhance structural coherence by organizing thoughts more logically, provide more detailed explanation of the challenges faced, articulate the outcomes and benefits of the project more clearly. And it also says I need to share the outcome and how it positively affected the project. As you can see, I didn't do it. So like I purposefully didn't talk about the end result of what happened after I fixed the issue. So okay, so that's great. Now let's go and do another one where I will try to answer it in a better way. I was working as a lead Node.js developer on a dental healthcare project, and the challenging project or situation we faced was that we realized that one of our backend services started to restart every 30 minutes without showing any kind of errors in the logs. So our team couldn't really figure out what was the issue, so I was assigned to look into it. The first thing I did is that I had an impression that this restarting might have related to memory issues. So I started looking at the metrics of the Docker container while it was running locally on my machine, and I realized that the Docker container restarts the service because the service runs out of the allocated memory. So then I realized probably there is some sort of memory issue or memory leak in our code base. So I basically started using a tool called clinic.js to check the memory usage locally when running the service. And I realized we were using a migration script which synchronized a lot of database items from an old legacy system into our new system, and it kept every item loaded from the database in the memory for a long period, and after a while it just ran out of memory. So I split up this code, this migration script, into batches of 5,000 items at once. So after each batch, the memory was freed up. I tested this approach in our staging environment, and everything seemed to be working properly. So I was very happy about the fix. So the conclusion and the result was that basically I was able to fix this issue in 2 days, and our service went from crashing every 30 minutes to 99.9% stable. Our memory usage also dropped by about 40 or 50%, and we were launching our product successfully and our customer became happy. So my personal experience was that it's not enough to just check for errors in your backend service when something is going on. It's also important to check the system resources as well. And this approach also became the standard for our team with my solution. Okay, so I went a little bit over of the 300 words, but let's see how better is it this time. So it says the overall performance went up from from 5 to 7. My structure integrity went up to 6 from 4, and my content accuracy went up to 8 from 5, which is, I think, is really good. And my fluency of expression is still at 6. So let's see the feedback. It says the strengths are clearly identified and articulates of the challenging project, demonstrates a methodological approach to problem solving, provides quantifiable results and outcomes. Very good. The areas for improvement are improve the structure and the flow of the response, enhance fluency and clearer expression, avoid repetitive phrases for better clarity. Okay, I'm pretty happy about this one, so let's move on to another question. Now let's practice another question. which says, tell me about your biggest failure. Okay, I think this is like a classical one. I've seen this question coming up at many interviews I had earlier, and as an interviewer, I also ask it to people because I really like how much different answers I can get as an interviewer. So let's start with, I'm gonna give you two examples again. I'm gonna go with the bad one first, so keep in mind this is not the way you should approach these questions, and then I will give you the good example of the structured answer. So let's start with the bad one. So I was working as a senior front-end developer in an e-commerce project earlier in my previous role, and well, it's hard to remember, but like I think we had like a 6 week deadline before a major sales campaign, and I was responsible for figuring out you know, like state management for our application because it was quite buggy. So I needed to re-architecture how we handle states in the front-end application. So I decided to build like a custom state management solution instead of using like an already built existing common solution like Redux, because I thought we don't need to include another library, and Redux is like wasn't feeling necessary to include for me at that point. But unfortunately, a few weeks in working on this custom state management, I started to feel uncomfortable, and I wasn't too confident about if I were able to deliver everything on time. So we actually ran out of time, and yeah, it was pretty bad because we couldn't deliver the application and the new features before the sales campaign. Okay, so as you can see, this was like a pretty short answer. I purposefully used filler words. I repeated myself. I repeated the same words. I tried to act like I was a little bit nervous. I looked away a little bit. This was everything I purposefully doing. So don't do this on interviews. I just giving you an example how you can answer a question which won't end up with a very good feedback. So the overall performance from the AI review, it says it's a 5 out of 10. My structure integrity was 4, my content accuracy was 6, and my fluency expression was 5. And the main issues it says is like I didn't mention lessons learned from the failure, and I didn't demonstrate growth from the failure. So these were the biggest issues. And it also says I should improve clarity and conciseness in storytelling, work on structuring the response. So I purposefully didn't structure my response. And I should also enhance confidence in discussing technical discussions. Okay, very good. So now let's answer the same question with more structure, more confidence, more expressions. I will use my hand more. I will pause more within sentences, and I will purposefully not use filler words to make my statement more confident and better and easier to understand for the listener, for the interviewer. So now let's see a more structured way of answering this interview question, and I will also behave more confidently when answering this question. So let's get started. So I was working as a senior front-end developer on an e-commerce project, and I was led rebuilding our e-commerce checkout flow in React within a 6 week deadline before a major sales campaign we had planned. I was responsible for architecting a solution for state management in our application and delivering this on time. Unfortunately, I made a bad decision. Instead of using Redux or Context API like all the existing solutions out there for React and state management, I thought I would build a solution on my own, thinking it would be faster. I skipped documentation and writing tests, and before 2 weeks before our launch, Unfortunately, this solution became too complex. Our team started complaining that it's slowing them down. They didn't understand how it worked, and it also had a bunch of bugs. I tried to fix it on my own, but unfortunately, we ran out of time and we missed the deadline by 10 days, and it caused our business about $10,000 lost in revenue. So, what I learned in this situation is that it's basically three things. So first of all, as a senior software engineer, I should be more thoughtful of choosing technology, making some research before deciding if we should include a third-party solution or not. The second of all is I should have asked help earlier. So instead of trying to solve everything on my own, I should have asked for help earlier. And the third one, I should communicate problems immediately. 6 months later, I was led another project, and in this new project, I used these lessons much better. I used the standard tools, I involved my team, I asked help early, and I communicated the risk very early to the management. We were in this next project, we were able to launch on time with zero bugs, with zero failures. Now let's see if it was any better. I hope it was, and yes. Fortunately, this is a much better answer. So my overall performance went up to 7 from just 5. My structure integrity went up to 6 from 4. My content accuracy went up to 8 from 6. And the fluence of expression remained 5. However, I still think this is a really good improvement. So the strengths are it was like an honest reflection of a real failure. I identified clearly of the lessons learned and I demonstrated growth in subsequent projects. That's great. Now let's see another question. Okay, now let's see the next question. This is a very classical interview question. I think this is most of the interviews are starting with this question. It goes as, please tell me a little bit about yourself. And you might not think about it, but this is kind of a tricky question. You shouldn't just talk about yourself, but also like how you fit into the position or role or the company you're interviewing to. So you should find the connection between your experience, your skill set to the role and the company values. I will start with the bad answer, so please keep in mind this is not the good approach. After that, we will do the good approach. So let's see. So my name is Laszlo. I'm a full stack software engineer with 15 years of experience. I have worked for different type of companies throughout my career, like small startups and mid-sized companies, and even like I don't know, like big multinational companies. And yeah, so basically I mainly work with JavaScript and TypeScript and yeah, both on front end and the back end. And I don't know, like, yeah, I just thought I would apply to this role because it sounded interesting. And yeah, I think that's it. And I really like hiking in the nature on the weekends. Yeah, that's very important. Thank you. So as you can see, this is not the best answer to go with, but we are just here to practice. Okay, the AI says there is some problem analyzing my answers. Oh, okay, here it is. So as you can see, the overall performance is very low. It's just a 4 out of 10. The structure integrity is 3. The content accuracy is 5, and the fluency of the expression is 4. The main issues is that it was con It was about conciseness and relevance, overall structure and coherence, and future ambitions and interested in the job. As you can see, I didn't really talk about connecting my skill set and my experience to the job I'm applying or interviewing. So this is really important. The AI also highlighted this. And there are some improvement areas here, like use the present, past, future format, or reducing the filler words, improving fluency, and so on. So now let's start to answer this question in a more confident way without using filler words, without without not using a structure. So basically answering it in a structured way. So let's get started. So I'm currently working as a lead Node.js developer, mainly working with JavaScript, TypeScript, Node.js, PostgreSQL, and Prisma. I have 15 years of experience in the industry, and I mainly build backend application as of today in healthcare and e-commerce. I recently led two teams, one working with Node.js and the other one is working with .NET, and it was more kind of like a mixture of a lead developer and an engineering manager role. I started my career as a front-end developer, and after 8 or 10 years, I started transitioning to the backend with Node.js. And so right now, this is why I mention myself as a full stack developer, because I have a very strong experience on both sides. I worked across different company sizes, from startups to mid-sized companies, even to large organizations like LogMeIn and Cloudera, and I even funded my own startup a few years ago, where we were able to successfully land the first round of investment, which was a very exciting time for me. In my free time, I also mentor mid-level software engineers, helping them becoming senior software engineers. And the reason I do it is to improve my mentoring and communication skills. And right now I'm looking for a senior developer role that combines team leadership with technical expertise, with a little bit of hands-on technical work, because I still really like coding and I would love to lean towards leadership, leading teams and engineers, but I also want to keep myself close to to the code. And moving forward, I want to grow as a technical leader like I started a few years ago. And I think I'm a really good, based on my experience, I thought my technical expertise and leadership experience is exactly what you need in this role. So this is why I applied for this role. I'm looking forward for the next steps. Okay, so this was a much longer answer, much more relevant. So as you can see, the overall performance went up to 6 from 4. The content integrity went up to 5 from only 3. The content, oh sorry, that was the structural integrity, and the content accuracy went up to 7 from 5. And the fluency of expression went up to 6 from just 4. So this is like a much better way of answering these type of questions. However, it's still, the AI still says I should maintain a concise and focused response. I should still enhance the clarity and organization of thoughts, reduce the redundancy, and improve grammatical accuracy and pronunciation. Of course, sometimes I mess up English because it's not my main language, so I think that's a totally fair feedback right there. So I will keep that in mind. So thank you so much to this tool called FinalRound AI. I think this is a really nice tool if you are preparing for job interviews as a software engineer and you would like to hear or love to hear direct raw feedback on your way of answering these questions. I think this is actually pretty helpful. So make sure to check it out. Okay, so after answering these interview questions, you might be wondering what is the structure or format I used, and here it is. So I used the STAR method. You might have heard about it. Many people use it for even to either answer interview questions, or sometimes they use it to structure their work experience on their LinkedIn profile or either on their CVs. So how does this STAR method work for? So it's an acronym. So basically, the S stands for the situation, or I think a better way to structure it is the problem. So first you would start explaining the situation where the whole thing started, or what was the problem you needed to solve. The second is the T. T is the task that you were assigned to. So when you had the situation, then you talk about the task that you needed to do. After comes the A part, it's called the action. It's basically what you did. And it's important to emphasize that the task you were assigned to is not always the same that the action you are doing, because in order to achieve or fix a task, you might have to do different actions than how the task is described. So this is the next step. You talk about. And then in the last section, this is the R, this is the result. Many people miss this part when they answer these common behavioral interview questions. So it's very important to finalize your thoughts or finish your thoughts with the end result. It's also considered the best practice to include quantifiable results, like what achievement you did. Maybe you improved the landing page, but okay, but how much you improved? Is it became 2 times faster, 3 times faster? Maybe you reduce the, reduce the loading by 50% of a website, or it can be anything, but try to make it quantifiable. And it's also considered the best practice to connect your result with this original situation or problem, because this way the interviewer could imagine what you did there. So make sure to always structure your thoughts using the STAR method, the STAR framework, when doing your next interviews. And also make sure to practice this either with the interview tool I mentioned you or by just your own. Okay, let's wrap this up. Preparing for software engineering interviews don't have to be a guesswork. The interview question bank feature in FinalRound AI lets you work through common interview questions one by one, record your answers, and get structured feedback on your responses. Pair that with the STAR method and you have a framework that works every time. Practice at least 30 minutes every day. Pick a question, record your answer, and review the feedback. Pick one thing that you want to improve and then try again. Use this method before you walk into your next interview. If you practice, I guarantee you will have a much higher confidence because you already done your homework. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to hit the like button or subscribe to the channel for more real-world advice on leveling up as a software engineer. I will leave a link in the description for the AI tool I used, and I highly recommend you go and try it out and practice. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.